Hi, my name's Jason, and today I'm going to talk about adding a bass line to an indie folk style song. Bass can obviously be a very rhythmic instrument. In this case, mostly I'm going to talk about choosing the note. So obviously one of the ways you can choose a note is just to pick up a bass and just start playing and just play by feel and instinct. That can produce a great result. This is just a process that you could go through to try to find that little bit of edge just to make it just a little bit better. Because when you just pick up your bass and you just start playing, you're going to fall into patterns. You're going to be into performance mode, which isn't necessarily your best thinking mode. And so that's really what I'm trying to get access to, is how do we get ourselves into a thinking mode instead of just acting entirely on instinct. This is about finding new ideas in sort of a structured way. I'm going to show you an example here. Is playing right now of a finger picking with vocal style song. So really the vocal performance is the king of this song, and you do not want to mess with highlights of the vocal performance. Shaken down by my own fantasy, getting tired and slipping under, over leveraged, and now there's thunder. And the alternative to just picking up your bass and playing, I actually find that just setting up a bass synth and just playing on a keyboard is actually super helpful. Shaken down by my own fantasy, shaken down by my own fantasy. Don't add extra notes, because every note that a bass adds to that type of arrangement is very powerful, and you're going to provide an extra push, which is kind of a distraction away from the other elements. Shaken down by my own fantasy. Then we get to the next step, and you've recorded some MIDI and you've gotten the timing right on that MIDI. Well, now you can go into your DAW and you can say loop a section of the song, and you can actually drag those MIDI notes around and audition different notes against your song. And like, I'll even stop it and I'll just sing the vocal note, and then I'll drag around the bass and just kind of like line up and try to figure out which one causes that vocal note to sound best. Shaken down by my own fantasy. When you really hit that nice vocal part, I think that's even the most important part to think about. Exactly what bass note can I play that is going to maximize the power of that vocal note. If you had played it on the bass, you can actually also go in and auto-tune your bass and just move notes around the same way as if you would move a MIDI note around. Asking to be, asking to be, asking to be, asking to be, asking to be. Vocal is probably going to be creating this tension and then coming back and resolving. That's what songs do. They create tension, they resolve, they go in a cycle. Pay attention to what your vocal and your guitar are trying to do together and line it up. When you start that process of creating the tension, don't jump the gun and create tension with the bass. In the middle part where you've got sort of the maximum tension, don't ruin the tension, but then when it all comes back together, probably you want to hit that root note on on the bass and just bring it all home together. And so if I've been going through this process, either I played something in on the bass or I played it in on a keyboard, and then I go through the whole song and I kind of pay attention to every single note and I move it up and down on MIDI. However, I've gotten the information in, kind of sorted out the details of what I'm going to play, then I come back to my bass and I'll probably cut the song up into sections, verse, chorus, verse, and I'll just work on one section at a time, trying to record the bass and just practice it until I get it going really cleanly and smoothly. Basically, I'm just reading the notes off the screen that I've planned out. So I'm focused entirely on playing it well. I don't have to think about what I'm going to play. So now you've got the whole thing all lined up. If you've cut it up in 5 or 6 sections and you've played each of those sections very well, it's very easy to comp it. You just need to make simple cuts between the sections. And now listen to the whole song. You got to listen to the whole song all the way through, thinking about the dynamics, listening to the actual instrument, not the MIDI anymore. Listen to it. If something doesn't feel quite right, go into that auto tune, take that note and move it around until it gets right. Lengthen it, shorten it. You can even squish notes together in auto tune. One for which you weep. 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 Ultimately, if it doesn't sound right in auto tune, just punch in and play that little phrase again. So that's it. That's the full process. I will link below the song that I was working on. You can hear the final result. Thanks a lot for listening and watching the kind of content I do on this channel. As I do these kind of explainer how I did it videos, I also do live streaming performances of my original music, and I do gear reviews of stuff in my studio here. If you're interested in that content, please subscribe. Thanks a lot.